Now it's time to talk about detecting propaganda. We saw a lot of this in the last several months with the political campaign. Advertisers, salespeople, and politicians are constantly promoting their points: buy our product, believe what I say, or vote for me. And we have to figure out what strategies they're using in order to determine what is fact and what is opinion. So they use propaganda techniques, which are appeals to emotions that try to manipulate us to believe what they say or do what they're telling us. And part of being a critical reader is having the ability to recognize these things for what they are and throw them out when you're considering your actual opinion. They're emotional fluff. They don't actually mean anything. So we're going to talk about 6 of these propaganda techniques. There are a lot more than 6, but we're just going to focus on the 6 that are the most common. And you're probably familiar with these already: bandwagon, testimonial, transfer, plain folks, name calling, and glittering generalities. So they all are emotional appeals. They're trying to distract us from facts, and they don't actually provide any evidence to support what they're saying. The first one is bandwagon. Bandwagon technique tells us to buy a product or support a certain issue because, in effect, everybody else is doing it. This is the advertising technique that falls under peer pressure. Here are 2 examples of ads that are using bandwagon. An ad that announces a sale, giving us a chance to buy the most popular SUV in America today, and a soft drink ad where a crowd of young people follow a young woman on skates who's drinking a diet soda. Essentially, the message from these ads is if you don't join in, you're going to be left behind. If you don't buy the SUV, you're going to be the only one not driving it. If you don't drink the diet soda, you're going to be left out of the party with the young woman on skates. So which statement below uses bandwagon appeal? The next technique is testimonial. The idea is that you get famous people to influence viewers because they admire these people. So they come in and they talk about the product and using the product, and that's supposed to convince people to buy it. So, for example, a famous actor is shown coping with a swarm of photographers in order to get a bottle of his favorite beer. Or a popular TV talk show host appears in an ad that indicates that she uses a certain credit card. These are actual real ads that show on TV that you might be familiar with. All of these are having the famous person shown using the product or talking about using the product, and it's supposed to convince us that we should also buy the product. Now, the trick here is they are actually eating, drinking, or using the product. So which of the ones below is testimonial? The next one is transfer. And the reason that I made a distinction with testimonial, actually consuming the product or using the product, is transfer tries to get someone to associate something that they like or admire with something else, so that those feelings would transfer over. This is most common with political candidates. So in the picture that we looked at earlier, this politician in the suit, this guy here, is trying to have you transfer your positive feelings of patriotism to him by using the flag, by wearing the flag in his pocket, which is kind of awkward looking. And he's trying to transfer our feelings of jealousy or desire to be like Miss USA, all of those positive feelings that we have about her, to himself. Because she's not endorsing him for candidate. The American flag isn't endorsing him as a candidate and saying how wonderful he is. They're just there with him. So the fact that they're there, he's hoping will allow us to transfer our feelings towards the American flag and the beauty queen to him. All right. So which of the following is transfer? Number 4 is plain folks. In the plain folks technique, powerful people present themselves as ordinary, average citizens. And then they're trying to get you to believe what they say or buy their product because they're just like you. Political candidates use plain folks technique most often. The presidents of some companies appear in their own ads, trying to show their giant corporations are just small family businesses run by ordinary folks. When we see Papa John making pizza, he doesn't actually do that except in the ads. He runs a company that's all across the nation. He doesn't make the pizza that's delivered to your door. That's an example of plain folks. All right, so 2 more examples. An average-looking American kids are shown at home trying and enjoying a cereal, and a president of a poultry company talks to us as if he's an everyday shopper just looking for a quick, easy meal to make, just like us. We all know that he doesn't cook his own food or do his own grocery shopping because he's this president of a company, and presumably he makes lots of money if he's having ads on TV. So they're trying to make us assume that the kids in the ad aren't actors. They're average everyday kids, just like our kids, and our kids will love that cereal too. So which of the following ads uses plain folks? Number 5 is name calling. You are probably very familiar with this after this political campaign season. Name calling is the use of emotionally loaded language or negative comments to turn people against a product or political candidate or cause. Here are 2 examples taken from real life. In the 1950s, during the early days of the Cold War with the Soviet Union, an exaggerated concern about communism in this country brought charges of un-Americanism against many. So instead of saying that people were socialists, they would call them un-American. Or during a taste test, consumers described their other leading brand of spaghetti sauce as too salty and thin and tasteless. So advertising that their sauce is too salty and thin and tasteless is name calling. They're calling out their opponents for not being as delicious as they are. So calling someone un-American is name calling. Which of the following is an example of name calling? And the last one is glittering generalities. A glittering generality is an important sounding but unspecific claim about a product, a candidate, or a cause. The claim uses fine and virtuous words but actually doesn't say anything. This is where you say, it's the next best thing, and you don't actually say anything about what it does. There are a lot of ads for medicines on TV, medications that don't actually say what they do. They just say, talk to your doctor. This will change your life. And then you go talk to your doctor and it's for hemorrhoids or something that you don't actually have. But you didn't know that from the ad because it never actually talked about the product. So here are 2 examples of ads that use glittering generalities. A room deodorizer exclaims, experience the freshness. It doesn't actually say anything about the product. Or a canned food ad boasts, nutrition that works. What does that mean? We don't know. So all of those sound important, but they don't actually tell us anything about the product. So which of the ads below is an example of glittering generality? Now, there's a lot more work involved with this particular chapter. I have broken this chapter up into 2 sections. We'll be doing one this week, and we'll be doing one next week. There are 12 vocabulary terms that you have to learn over the next 2 weeks. You need to go home. You need to make flashcards. You need to study these because you need to be able to remember what the word means, and you need to be able to figure out which example is which technique. And you won't be able to do that if you don't know what they mean.